Drugs, guns, and prisons. These ideas are how to greatly affect these issues. First, by taking the profit out of crime, then creating a transition program for helping people who are in the prisons transfer to society and greatly reducing the number of prisoners. And then finally, how to deal with the gun violence in the United States by licensing militias. Taking the profit out of crime. The proposal we provide revenue to fund service and health programs and reduce the prison population by 50%. The way to do that is to legalize, monitor, and tax recreational drugs, sex services, and gambling. First, we start by legalizing non-addictive recreational drugs in a manner similar to what we've done with alcohol and include marijuana. Take the federal process out of the way and let states that want to legalize it do so, but have a federal tax as well on this activity to create income for other programs. The sticky part is what to do with the addictive drugs. And other countries have found that if you legalize it and have people get prescriptions for it, they have to come in periodically and have their health monitored. But it is their choice to do so, and they're no longer committing crimes to steal the money for it and to make it much more affordable for them. But it is their choice. By cutting out the criminality of the drug trade, we greatly reduce our prison population, many of whom are in there because of some sort of nonviolent drug offense. Sex workers at this time are victims of the law or punished by the law rather than protected by the law. Women who would work in legally licensed establishments would have the protection of the law and would not be victims of the abuse of white slavery and other things like that. This is a practice that's already done in some countries in Europe, and the money from that would be used for health programs for these women. We need to provide positive role models in the community. The richest person in the community that the young kids look at shouldn't be the person profiting from sex and drugs. Rather, it should be a local business person. And furthermore, we need to take the money out of drug wars. The money that flows out of this country into Central America, Afghanistan, places like that, are funding ongoing wars. And a lot of people are getting killed, and it's our fault. So we need to not only take the profit of crime, we need to stop this war and the victims of it who are in prison or being killed in Central and South America or the streets of America. We've got millions of people in jail on these drug offenses, and rather than just release them all of a sudden, we need to give them some hope of employment, some way to get back into the workforce. So I propose that we take that $30,000 on average we're spending per prisoner and use that more productively. Right now in the United States we have 7 people in jail for every 1,000 population. The average in developed countries is 1 per 1,000. So we could easily cut this in half, but we've got to get those people back into the workforce in a productive life. So I propose that we change our parole system. We give people the option of selecting this program, people who are in jail, and they would go into a work program where they could be working on dilapidated houses in slums or disaster areas that have been hit by floods, And so if somebody signed up for this program, they would take classes in prison on basic home repair, how to glaze replacement windows, how to scrape and paint properly, how to do roof repair, and how to do basic cleanup of the property and landscaping. We could use high-tech monitoring systems, and their work habits would be monitored and recorded, so that this would be like a job, and they would get paid for it. So this money would go into a savings account for them while they're working during their parole period, and they would sleep in the jail. They're not released. But at the end of this period, they would get a certificate of employee worthiness. They would have had a chance, say over a 6-month period, to prove that they were reliable workers, and they could give that certificate to a potential employer. So upon finishing this program, they would have money in the bank, a certificate of employee worthiness. If they went back to wherever they were living before, they would have a set of skills for maintaining and upgrading the housing. Finally, one of the more difficult problems is gun control. And fortunately, people talk about the Second Amendment all the time, but they usually refer to the very last part of the Second Amendment, not the whole thing. So if we focus on the real Second Amendment in the Constitution, it begins with a well-regulated militia. So my goal is to improve accountability for gun ownership, thereby reducing criminality. I propose that we license local militias in a way that's similar to licensing a bar with a liquor license. People with a liquor license don't serve minors because they're afraid of losing their liquor license. And it's a highly profitable business, so they're willing to protect it by obeying the law. So I propose that gun owners must belong to a small local militia, say 200 or less. Members must be sponsored by an existing member. So each member has a sponsor. That sponsor has some responsibility for observing the person's mental health and their behavior with their guns, because, we'll get into that. Guns and ammunition must be purchased through the militia. So the point of this is that it'll be highly profitable for the militia license holders. Gun manufacturers would only be able to manufacture guns for sale to the militias by filling militia orders. In other words, they couldn't manufacture or import far more guns than they can sell legally. This would cut off a lot of the illegal gun sales at the source, the manufacturer. To protect to allay some of the fears of militia members of a government takeover or confiscation of their guns, the militia would keep an electronic database that had the ballistic characteristics of the gun and who owns it. But that database could be searched by police with just the ballistics part of it. So if a crime is committed, the police would have characteristics of the weapon. If the computer could search it like a fingerprint and come up with a list of likely candidates, if the police had enough suspicion that this particular gun belonged to someone locally in a particular militia, they could go and get a court order, at which point the militia would, if the court agreed, the militia would turn over the name of that gun owner to the police. But otherwise protecting the information within the militia of who owns what guns. If one of the members of the militia commits a criminal act, then the owner of the license and that criminal's sponsor must go before a court and explain what they did to help prevent it. And if they did not perform due diligence, then the license owner faces possible loss of his militia license the member might also have their rights for gun ownership or membership in a militia suspended for a particular period of time or even revoked if it's a repeat offense, thereby making each member of the militia responsible for somebody else and their behavior, including potential suicides. So this may help reduce gun violence within the United States. For other ideas on big ideas for America, you can go to my channel on YouTube, or you can look at go to the website at pctraining.net/vision.htm.